Okay, welcome to Module 6. And this is Enterprise Integration and Process Modeling. So in this module, in the main video, I talk about how you actually model the enterprise. So in Module 4, we talked about a future vision. So we've designed the conceptual framework for the business processes. We know that at least the major processes that will, of the future state, and how we're going to go from maybe a functional organization to a business process organization. We also will know our cultural values. We'll know our organization, our rough organizational approach. Now you're actually getting into detail. You're starting to actually build the business process model. And it's a business process where work gets done. So in the main module, I talk about, I think it's five main sections. The first one is I set the stage, give you some personal reflections from my experience with Ernst & Winnie, which was what KPMG was before it became KPMG in Canada. It was Ernst & Winnie, and then Ernst & Winnie in the United States became Ernst & Young. So while I was working in the US at McDonnell Douglas and other companies, we were known as Ernst & Winnie, but they became Ernst & Young during the mergers in the early 1990s. So I actually worked for two companies without leaving them. So it was Ernst & Winnie / Young and became KPMG in Canada. And Ernst & Young Canada was a derivative of a company called Woods Gordon. That was a big consulting firm, strategic firm in the from the early 90s all the way back, like maybe 50 years. One of the big things that I will talk about was my own experience on the McDonnell Douglas job, helping do future state visions of processes and helping get into the detail. If you're going to design an enterprise, you better understand technically how things work. So you have to, if you're in an aerospace company, you have to understand what is aerodynamics. You don't have to actually know the calculations. You don't have to be an expert at it, but you have to know how to communicate with those guys. If you're talking to the tool designers of the big jigs and fixtures for assembling aircraft, or the machine shop jigs and fixtures, you have to know what cutting tools are. You have to know how metal is removed. You have to know the difference between high-speed steel and aluminum and composites and Kevlar and titanium and other exotic materials. You've got to understand. So to do that work, I had to be an engineer. I could not have not been an engineer. If I was just an MBA or a certified management consultant working with engineers trying to improve their processes, that would not have, it can work, but it's less than effective because you've got to talk their language, and you don't have to be an expert in every field. Obviously you can't be both an aerodynamicist and a manufacturing engineer and a fuselage design engineer and so on. But you've got to understand where they're coming from and be able to have the dialogue and understand the technology that improves their processes. So that was one of the secrets where I was successful, that I had combined hardcore manufacturing and mechanical aeronautical engineering know-how along with these management consulting skills or change management. My technical skills at places like McDonnell Douglas were far higher and stronger than my soft skills, change management skills. But through the years, the technical skills started to matter less and the soft skills mattered more as I started dealing with the CEO level. And I actually went through that whole career change to the point now where I hardly remember first year mathematics of an engineering degree, which is interesting because I'm actually interested in getting up to speed with it again, as a matter of interest, like a hobby. But when you're transforming an enterprise and so on, knowing those technical details ceases to be relevant, ceases to matter. But knowing the outcome of the process is very, very, very important. So I talk about that in the first 15 minutes or so of the next video. And then after I talk about modeling the enterprise top down. So first of all, you have to look at the tier one processes. So typically the core business process, acquire, define, build, support. And then there's strategic management processes above that, and then there's support. The strategic management processes are the processes used by how you develop a strategic plan, how you develop a directional plan, how you manage human resources, then underneath it, how you manage facilities, how you manage the money, and so on. But the core business processes where wealth gets added, how you sell it, acquire business, how you design the product, build it. Then we break those down into 2, 3 more tiers and the workflow. So we break them down into the core processes. There's phases and milestones. So you've got the conceptual design phase, you've got the preliminary design phase, the detailed design phase, and manufacturing phase, the support the customer phase, and then you have critical milestones, critical design review, preliminary design review, conceptual design review, the release of the build package to the shop floor. So you have all these structured processes by which the work flows. Then you peel the onion away and you get into the detailed business processes. This is where the humans actually do the work. So how they do their stress analysis calculations, how they do their tool design, how they work in multidiscipline teams. So you look at we use what's called swim lanes. So we look at the different functions like a swim lane, and then we look at so there's mechanical design, electrical design, tooling design, aerodynamics, and then we look at the deliverables and the workflow across those. So we see how work flows. So you actually go down to that kind of detail and you set times, etc., to see the efficiencies by which work flows. Then you design the deliverables. You're actually stating what the deliverables looks like. The next component is the milestones, the checklist, and the deliverables. So from each process, you have various outputs. So you have a checklist. Did you do this? Did you do the moments of inertia? Did you do the structural analysis? Did you do the tool specification? Have you specified the right materials, and so on? Then in the section 5 of it, I talk about the stage gate with Dr. Cooper. Stage gate and phase milestone are totally different processes. Phase milestone looks at a major engineered product, where stage gate talks about consumer goods. I mentioned that in the previous module as well. So again, we're moving into we're peeling the onion away, we're moving into much more detailed design of a future state vision. And we also take what's called a systems engineering approach. Systems engineering is a generic approach to modeling an enterprise, so I talk about that also. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for Module 6. You can watch the details in the master module. Thank you.